Okay, we're gonna be working on the next two parts of our Wild Things. So Masterpiece Manager, open it up, get out the folded papers. The folder will come to my box today. Check your names, pass out your Wild Thing. Supply Manager, all you're gonna do is open up the oil pastels and put them in the middle. So today we're gonna work on adding some lines to our Wild Thing. We're not scribbling all over him, we're not coloring him in. What we're gonna do is you get to pick any color. And one thing, like in the belly, we can add some lines. Now you can add different color lines or the same color lines. We just don't want to color anything in because we're going to be painting him in. So then switch colors. You can add zigzags are a good line, curved lines, maybe switch colors on his arm. Add some polka dots. All these are good ideas to add color without coloring him in. Now, things that you could color in are things that are small, like the claws on his toes or his teeth. Those are things that are small, and then when you paint them, it's going to be harder to paint. So those little things you could use oil pastels to color in. Like his claws on his feet, I am going to use one to color it in because it's a smaller area. Now the claws on his hand are a little bit bigger and they're connected to his arm, so I'm not going to color that in. And the way we did the collar, you can add just another line. Maybe change it up. I am going to color his teeth in. I kind of like this mustard gold. But again, you don't want to color in the big things like his body, his arms, his legs, his hair. Those are things we're going to paint. Maybe give it some red eyelashes. And let's add some lines on the horns. Maybe even some wiggle lines in his hair. So once you've added some different lines to it, now depending on how much time we have left within the class, Supply Manager, when everybody's done with these, close those up. I'll be calling for these, and then we'll be getting our paint. Now with our watercolors, there is a way to use them correctly. So we want to make sure that we can leave them on the tray because they're already opened, and you just turn the tray so watercolors are facing you and your partner, and watercolors are facing the other people, and then your water is in the middle. So we don't have our sponge today because we do want to keep the water on the brush. We don't want to get the water off the brush. Now, when you are using watercolors, you want to make sure, like you remember from the beginning there, you lay your paintbrush down. You don't want to go straight into it because that's digging a hole. So you want to lay it down and gently rub. And again, you want the water on the brush, so you gently rub. I'm not scooping, I'm not stirring, I'm not poking. I'm just gently rubbing because you just want to rub the water into the paint to get the paint on your brush. And then because the oil pastels, they work against your watercolor. So as you are painting, you can paint right over the oil pastel and nothing's going to happen. The color is going to stay the same and the line is going to stay the same. So you can go back and get more water. I don't even have to get more paint because I can just take the water, add it to my brush, and then rub it around. So again, gently rub. So you are going to paint in the big parts of your Wild Thing. For instance, the hair. I don't want to do the hair and the face the same color. I want to do two different colors, but I do want to keep the same hair up here. Gently rub. And you need to be careful because if you notice that your paint is sticky and it's not moving around like it should be, like if you notice every time I move my brush, the paint moves, then you need to stop and get more water because sometimes the newer paint is very sticky, and if you don't get enough water, it won't move around on your paper. Again, see, normally when you mix blue and yellow, you get green, but because the oil pastels work against the watercolor, it stays yellow. So you're just working your way around. Notice I'm washing off every time I switch colors, rubbing over the water. And I'm going to stick to the same color on the collar. I'm not going to switch. And you can notice I'm not going and getting water paint every time. Just when I notice it's running out, I get a little more water, rub a little more paint, and then keep moving. So I'm just going to work my way down. Now, because I did lines, I can now paint stripes. So maybe because I have those lines, I'm going to paint one color, one area black, and then the next area a different color. So you're just kind of working your way down your Wild Thing, figuring out where you want to put color and where you want to put and change the color. So it is up to you how you create your Wild Thing. Again, you can use the ideas I gave you, or you can use the oil pastels and watercolor to create new ones. And you can see that the paint right there is really dark. It's because it's too much paint. I need to get some water on there and spread it out, because if you get too much paint on there, that's when it becomes too sticky, especially if there's not enough water on your brush. So you're just moving it around all the way down, figuring out where you want the color to go. Switch to yellow. Again, I can go right over those polka dots. Now be careful, because I painted black right here and then I'm going yellow next to it, I need to make sure that I don't touch it, because as soon as if I touch one color of wet paint to another color of wet paint, it's gonna run together and that black is gonna mess up the yellow. So as you paint, don't try to paint next to areas next to each other, because they will just bleed. Because see, I got a black in there. They will just bleed together, and sometimes you can dab it off with a paper towel, sometimes you can't. So you got to be careful that as you're painting areas next to each other, don't leave them too close as they're wet. Okay, and as you're done, you're going to make sure, and I'm not going to finish him. I'm going to add some more color to his arms and the stripes. But you're going to take your paints, leave your paints open as they are. Just make sure your paintbrush is in the water. There's no house this week. And you're going to make sure you walk your Wild Thing to the drying rack. He's already vertical, so it's going to go straight on there just like this.